Hello, guys, and welcome to Bundesliga Matchday 31. And it looks like Borussia Dortmund, Radek, they don't want to win the title again.
Yeah, like the last 10 years, I think they have some air. They are aware to win the championship because it's the easiest season for them, maybe within the last 10 years to beat Bayern Munich, but they have to beat any other team, so they didn't, and that's why, yeah, I think they don't make it at the end. I was telling this the whole season.
Terrible for Dortmund, drawing against Bochum. Dortmund to win the title is 4.0, by the way. Bayern Munich to win the title, 1.3. So let's analyze this new match day. Remember, as always, leave your comments, your tips, and of course, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And on Friday, we have two games this time, good ones. Actually, we have Leverkusen Cologne to start with, because Leverkusen, they have to focus in the Europa League semifinals the following week against Roma. In the meantime, they are not losing in the Bundesliga, 14 unbeaten games right now in all competitions, and still in European spot despite the draw against Union Berlin. Leverkusen to win is 1.7. Cologne lost. Radek, in the last match day against Freiburg at home.
Yeah, and Freiburg is not really bad. They are going to be in the Champions League, so maybe they are even better than Bayer Leverkusen, but not at the moment. Maybe that Leverkusen has this run you told us, and that's why, yeah, I expect Leverkusen to keep at least 1 point at home. The odds are not brilliant here for Leverkusen, 1.7. I think it's okay because of their large amount of winnings in the last games. And I would be not too much concerned about this game in the Europe League, as this is 6 days after this Friday game. So I think they will be 100% concentrated here against Cologne, which is a completely derby, because the two towns, Leverkusen and Cologne, are almost the same. They are not far away from each other. And I think it's gonna be interesting, but I don't like the odds on Leverkusen. That's why I think it's a good thing that both teams to score here. We have odds around 1.7 to 1.8. And I think Cologne was really good within the last 5 games. Even they lost the last game, but I think they will be motivated in this derby and are able to score. At the end, maybe Leverkusen will win this game, but I think the more value is on both teams to score.
Okay, and also on Friday, another good game, because we have Mainz Schalke. Mainz is still taking a look at the European spots. They lost to Wolfsburg 3-0, but still they have some options. Remember that before this defeat, they were in an amazing run, 10 unbeaten games. Whereas for Schalke, 1 point away from Bochum after beating Werder Bremen, there is still hope for them. But the problem is that they are playing against Mainz, and the next game is against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, but to be honest, who thought that Schalke would have a chance to even compete with the others? They were surprising a lot of games in a row, and now it's for sure getting tough for them. But beating Werder Bremen, I didn't expect it, and beating Hertha 5-2 was a huge win at home. Playing away, Schalke is not really a danger, and after all games Mainz had at home, I think there should not be a problem for Mainz, and the problem only is that the odds are really bad, and 1.6 or 1.7 for a Mainz home win is not worth to put money on. But to be honest, in this game I don't see any good bets. That's why I would not put my personal money on it, but if you threaten me to say a bet here, I would say Mainz to win with 1.65 around.
Okay, it's not about being threatened, and you always say that it's not wise to bet in every single game, so perhaps we find better odds in the next games we have at the weekend. Augsburg, Union Berlin is the first game on Saturday, with Union Berlin still in third spot, but only 2 points away from Leipzig. And only one victory in the last 4 games for Union Berlin. The next game is against Freiburg. So this one against Augsburg is key, but be careful with Augsburg. It's true that they are not winning, but a lot of draws, Radek, and Augsburg, they are still fighting to avoid relegation, only 3 points away from Bochum.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is if you compare the home standings with the away standings, what I always do in this phase of the season, you see that Union Berlin didn't win more games than they did not win away. So they only won 7 games, but they didn't win 8 games away. So their away stats are kind of negative, and on the other hand, Augsburg lost less games than they didn't lose at home. So they had 5 victories at home and 4 draws and only 6 losses at home. That leads to Augsburg not losing this game, and I would say Asian handicap on Augsburg plus 0.25 is a good thing, as if there's a draw, which I expect, the odds are 1.9 around, on 1.95. And if there's a draw, we win half of this bet. And I think, yeah, Union Berlin, you have to watch their last results, especially playing away. They didn't make a lot wins there, and that's why I think they will struggle again. And maybe, yeah, they also are aware playing Champions League next year. And to be honest, a lot of people expect them to go down in the last game days to, leave the spots for teams like Leipzig, maybe.
Very interesting, the fight for the Champions League this season and also for the relegation. Augsburg is still in danger, and Bochum right now in the bottom 3. They are playing against Gladbach away. I'm surprised to see Gladbach. It's true that the season for Gladbach has been awful, but to win at home is 1.95. At home, they are decent, actually, 6th in the home standings. And Bochum, they got this point that I couldn't believe when I saw it against Dortmund. Despite the point, they are in the bottom 3, and the next games for Bochum are key. They are facing Augsburg and Hertha.
Yeah, so in these games, they have to collect points as well. And yeah, the chances are really good after they made a point against the second Borussia Dortmund, and they made a point against the third Union Berlin 3 game days ago. In between, they lost against teams at home like Wolfsburg and Stuttgart. That's why I think they are only highly motivated against the big teams. They also had a victory at home against Leipzig. So Bochum is able to really play great against big teams. But it seems that against middle-class teams like Gladbach, they are not fully concentrated. And that's why I think Gladbach will use their home strength and keep at least 1 point at home. And at the end, I think it's worth to bet on Gladbach as a winner in a 3-way bet. We get odds of 1.9 around.
Okay, and next game is very important, a key game for the Champions League, and very difficult to bet on, in my opinion. Freiburg, Leipzig, we are talking about the 4th and the 5th in the standings, and the key point is that they played in the middle of the week in the Cup, in the semifinals, and Leipzig thrashed Freiburg 1-5. Remember that Freiburg kicked out Bayern Munich from this competition. Usually Freiburg is good at home. Leipzig struggle a little bit away, even if they are now in good form, Radek, but having that game 1-5 only some days ago, this is what makes this game very tricky, in my opinion.
Yes, and without this result, I had a bet on Freiburg in the league because or everyone knows that Freiburg is at home a really, really good team and a tough team to play. And on the other hand, Leipzig didn't show a really, really great form recently. But now we don't know how this cup game affects the Bundesliga now. For sure, it seems obvious that after beating someone 5-1, it should be clear that also Leipzig is the favorite in the next game and should win this. But I think Freiburg is one of the mentally best team in the league, and if it comes to huge losses, which Freiburg had in the past in the season, they had I think also a very high loss against Leipzig in the first leg of the season, and they came back every time they had a huge loss. They had about 2 or 3 huge defeats in this season, but they are still on course on getting on track and getting to the Champions League. Maybe. That's why if a team can recover from such a loss, then I think Freiburg can. And Christian Streich is a brilliant coach, and I think he can handle the team so good and motivate them to not lose again against Leipzig. And if we have a look at the odds, they don't have to win this game because the odds are really high on Freiburg. We can bet on Asian handicap plus 0.5, which means double chance on Freiburg, and we get odds of 1.9. This is okay.
Well, the head-to-head between these two teams, as you said, apart from the cup game, Leipzig won in the first leg 3-1 in the first part of the competition, and we have to go back until 2019 to see Freiburg beating Leipzig. But, as you said, also the draw would be positive for Freiburg, keeping the 4th spot very contested this season, the fight for the Champions League and also for the relegation. We have Hertha Stuttgart. This is the key game in the bottom part of the standings, with Hertha almost saying goodbye to the Bundesliga. What a terrible season for the capital team. 4 consecutive defeats after losing 2-0 against Bayern, and Stuttgart is the opposite. They are getting points and points lately. They beat Gladbach 8 points out of the last 12 for Stuttgart.
Yes, and maybe Hertha should have hired Sebastian Hoeneß, who's coaching Stuttgart now and has not lost a single game until now. And they are playing in the cup semi-final against Eintracht Frankfurt 3 days before the game against Hertha. This can be a game changer maybe if Stuttgart is not going to the final here, which I expect because Frankfurt is a bit stronger, but everything is possible at the moment in Stuttgart. That's why I think we have a clear situation, as Hertha lost the last 4 games and Stuttgart didn't lose the last 4 games. Stuttgart should not lose this game against Hertha, and the odds are 1.7 around for double draw no bet on Stuttgart. So if there's a draw, we get our money back, and I trust Stuttgart here to continue their Bundesliga streak.
Well, and another team that is in a good track to stay in the Bundesliga is Hoffenheim, playing at home against Eintracht Frankfurt, still only 1 point away from the bottom 3. Hoffenheim, after the defeats against Leipzig and Cologne, before they were in good form, but they lost the last 2 games. And Frankfurt, with an eye in the cup, and they are far from the European spots. Their bad run keeps going in the Bundesliga. 9 winless games now for Frankfurt. What a bad second part of the season for them.
Yeah, that's a pity, as now they are discussing about the coach, Oliver Glasner, who's one of the best coaches in Europe, as he was able to guide Wolfsburg to the Champions League and also won the Europe League with Frankfurt. But in this business, yeah, more than 2 years, it's just a miracle if a coach survives this long. And so maybe Glasner is leaving Frankfurt after the season. What is really a big loss for Frankfurt. But for now, they are struggling in the league, but they are a cup team. So that's why I expect them to go to the cup final at least, and yeah, maybe make some points in the rest of the season, but they are not they don't depend on the Bundesliga, as they win the cup and then they can go to the Europe League by this. But I expect them to show another face against Hoffenheim. As you said, Hoffenheim lost the last 2 games. The streak of Hoffenheim seems to be over a bit. Both teams are almost the same quality, and I don't see a winner here. That's why the only option is to bet on a draw. Or we also can try it with Asian handicap 0 on Frankfurt, because they are a bit the underdog with higher odds, and that gives us odds of 2.1 on a Frankfurt draw no bet.
Okay, last game on Saturday is Werder Bremen, Bayern Munich. Bayern back to the top of the standings, even without playing great, with a 2-0 victory against Hertha. Remember that they lost 3 out of the last 4 away games against Mainz, Man City, and Leverkusen. Now traveling to Bremen, but they are also in bad form. Werder Bremen, only 1 victory in the last 8 Bundesliga games.
Yeah, and maybe it's because Niklas Füllkrug was injured, the best striker, and yeah, on the other hand, Marvin Duksch scored a lot of goals, as Füllkrug was not on the pitch. 12 goals for Duksch, 16 goals for Füllkrug. So both Bremen strikers are better than the best Bayern Munich striker. So that's a funny fact, but this is not enough maybe to to make points against Bayern Munich. And after the very decent or very average game against Hertha, Bayern should at least improve their confidence a bit and also win against Bremen. We don't know if it will be a clear win or if it's a very close win, but at the end, I think Bayern Munich should now continue and be better each and every game till the end of the season, as they showed the worst already, and I think it only can be better for Bayern Munich. Everything else will be a complete surprise, and that's why I think Bayern is going to win. It's not really interesting because the odds are really low, 1.3. I won't bet on this favorite odds, as too many favorites struggled in the Bundesliga this year, and always it's almost never a wise decision to bet on low favorite odds, and that's why I only say Bayern will win. Odds are 1.3, but I won't put money on it.
Well, Tuchel hopes that the worst has passed for Bayern Munich and they can win the title. They just have to win every single game, or perhaps Dortmund keeps dropping points because it was a huge disappointment. The game against Bochum is another history when they play at home. They won the last 9 Bundesliga games when they are playing at home, but this Wolfsburg can be dangerous. Radek, they have a good squad and they are still with options to play in Europe next season.
Yes, and they won the game against Dortmund in the season in November at home, 2-0. That are really, really interesting points for Wolfsburg, as they also had really good games recently, and they ended the Mainz streak with a 3-0. and they also were able to beat Bochum 5-1. And if we compare that, Bochum had a 1-1 against Dortmund the game day after the 5-1 loss against Wolfsburg. So that seems that Wolfsburg is really, really not easy to beat for Dortmund, and that's why the odds don't make any sense after Dortmund showing that they are really only able to get champion if the rivalry is on their side. So if there is a rivalry against them and don't give them some penalties, they are not able to beat even Bochum because of their strength. And a lot of Dortmund people like Watzke or Kehl or Edin Terzic, the coach, were complaining, oh, the referee took away our win. But the only person who was realistic was Julian Brandt, who said that they just were not able to win by themselves. And in some cases, the referee is not on their side or against them. But to be honest, a team like Dortmund who wants to be champion should not be in such a situation depending on a referee's decision. They should win against Bochum like Wolfsburg did 5-1 or even 2-0 or 2-1, but they didn't. And that's why Dortmund is not able to be champion. They lost 7 games in this season, and so why should they now beat Wolfsburg? Just because they're strong at home, okay. But I won't bet on Dortmund, and yeah, that's why I really like the odds on Wolfsburg, Asian handicap +1, 2.1. So we get the money back if Wolfsburg loses with 1 goal behind. But as you said, Wolfsburg also has the motivation to go to the Europe League, and that's why, yeah, it should be a really tough game for Dortmund. And maybe after this game day, the championship can be handed over to Bayern Munich finally.
Well, tricky game for Dortmund, even if their home form is great. Only 1 draw and 1 defeat this season. They've won every single game played at home, apart from those 2 games. Well, Radek, tell me then your safe bet to finish the video.
Yeah, we would say this game day is very tricky, but I think to continue the run on Stuttgart with an Asian handicap 0 against Hertha, because Hertha was so bad in the last games, I would say Asian handicap 0 on Stuttgart is 1.7. Go for it, Stuttgart.
All right, and your ACCA?
Yeah, combining this Asian handicap 0 of Stuttgart with Asian handicap 0 of Frankfurt against Hoffenheim with odds of 2.1, and Wolfsburg Asian handicap +1 at Dortmund with 2.1 also. In combination, we have odds of 7.7.
All right, good luck to everyone. Remember just to leave your comments, of course. Press the like and subscribe. See you, Radek, next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Looking forward.